Grand Concourse 149th Street Station in the Bronx, graffiti writers gather at what they call the writer's bench.
What's good, what's good, what's good? Live from the Writers Bench, it's your man Kill. Got two of my soldiers on deck tonight. We got Evan Beezo. What's going on, y'all?
Peace.
Yo, tonight we kind of chopping it up about a little bit of everything. Really, the real topic came from me and Ev talking earlier. We were chopping it up about Smith & Wesson. We were chopping up, I sent everybody on the bench an email with Smith & Wesson and the beat miners being interviewed about making a Soundboy burial in Bucktown. And, you know, me and Ed was kind of just talking about how, you know, it's just dope. You know, first of all, we was big boot camp dudes in the first place. And Smith & Wesson was like my favorite group. The Shining is like probably one of my definitely top 10 hip hop albums. I don't know if it cracks my top 5, but one of my favorite. I was just saying how it was dope. It seemed like Tech and still, you know, they still cool, you know, after all these years, 20 years later. They seem like they still good or whatever, but one of the stories they was telling was how Soundboy Burial Beat was originally made for Helter Skelter, but they didn't like it, and they was like, bet, good, like, let us jump on it and everything like that. And I was telling Ev, like, I didn't think, like, Helter Skelter would have been able to kill it like Smith & Wesson did. That conversation led into why all the Boot Camp second albums were so whack. So where me and Ev left off on the conversation, because I didn't want to keep it going, because I was like, this would be a good, you know, something to chop it up with tonight. Ev, why do you feel like the second Black Moon album was whack? It wasn't as good as Into the Stage, but I wouldn't go as far as to call it whack. So Ev, why do you think it was whack?
You using harsh ass words. Just
Fam, you said it. you said.
Oh, I mean, put it like this. The reason why I didn't like the second Black Moon joint is, number one, it was mainly because of the writing. Like, I don't feel like Buck was writing the way that Buck left off. Not even from the last album, but from like the remixes, from the cameo joints. I feel like it was just too much time in between that and this next album. So I feel like when he came back around, what I was saying was that it seemed like he was trying to do Buckshot from Into the Stage, whereas he had already elevated from Into the Stage. He was already, when he did Buck 'Em Down remix, when he did I Got You Open, he was already moving into another level, and for whatever reason he backtracked. So to me, like, when he backtracked, the verses just wasn't hot like that, you know. So my why you laughing, Beezo? What you...
I'm sorry, my wife is fucking with me. I'm listening to you. I'm listening.
That's all good. I thought I was saying some shit.
Wow.
No. So that was my thing, man. I just feel like the cat didn't, you know, he just wasn't bringing it the way that he usually brings it. So I feel like that step back was, just, you know, you can't do Into the Stage Buck. You're just not. It's too much time in between. You're not in that mind state anymore. You've already elevated. You just to me stay with the elevation instead of trying to give us what you gave us last time around, because we had already, to me, the fan base had moved with you through your elevation. So you're trying to come back and do Into the Stage Buck, but then you're not necessarily writing the same, and not, you know, because I listened to some of them tracks too after we got off the phone, and like even some of the like the wording just wasn't, it's not connecting like that.
Word. And say I think that's probably again the difference. You and MC, I'm the producer, so it's kind of like for me, like the Onslaught, the joint with Tip, the joint with MOP Annihilation. I felt like there was some hard beats on it. I mean, of course, it was nowhere near Into the Stage. I just didn't think it was whack, but I never really paid attention to how Buck's flow. Like that's, you know, you being an MC, you break that down, you know, break that down more and everything like that. But be real quick, what did you think about Black Moon's second album?
I'll be honest, man. I thought it was garbage. I mean, I hate to be mean, but
y'all I'm glad it's just y'all two tonight, because y'all two are some of the, y'all get on me. Y'all are two of the harshest critics out of everybody that I know. Just everybody, keep going.
You know what though? It's like, it's funny because like what you were saying right there, Ev, about is like kind of like, it sounded like you're talking about almost Buck's trajectory. You know what I'm saying, in terms of his you know, his whole image, and not just image, but like his content, his flow. For me, Enter the Stage was 90%, not 90%, but it was like predominantly about the beats and Buck's flow. When I listened to Buckshot, I didn't see him as like a dope lyricist. I saw him like in the vein like Q-Tip. Like I see Q-Tip as being a dope MC, like a nigga that just knows the craft, knows how to get in and out the pocket, you know what I'm saying, and ride a beat and all that. To me, that was Buckshot's biggest attribute, and that I didn't see on the second album. And I guess it's kind of the same thing what you were saying or whatever. Like he kind of didn't keep going in terms of where he was, you know, how he seen his trajectory was heading towards. But for me, it really was about the beats, because the whole boot camp shit was weird. At the end of the stage, it almost felt like Buckshot and them broke up. You know what I'm saying? And they was just worried about the rest of the crew getting out and getting on and blowing up or whatever. Because I'll be honest, man, I can't even remember. I know the album, but I can't even remember like the timing of when their second album dropped. But I know when Enter the Stage and then all the other, you know, Helter Skelter and all the other albums dropped after that, you know, The Shining and whatnot.
I think Warzone dropped in like 97, 98. 97, 98.
So how many years is that? Like a year or two after the first one?
Nah, Enter the Stage was like 94.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So by the time, so there you go. So by the time the second album dropped, I had almost moved on. Like we were talking before, Kill, and I was like, for me, my favorite MC, just straight up out of the MCs of the whole boot camp clique is Sean Price. I always liked him the most. You know, Rock, whatever it was. You know, the other cat, Rockness Monster, he was cool. He kind of, you know, I thought his voice is more like I don't say a fad, but you know, I kind of looked at it like No Diggity, like Das's, you know, that type of style. Like, yeah, it works right now, but he ain't gonna be able to do that forever. You know what I'm saying? Rockin' this monster I'm talking about. And I think that's kind of what happened to Buckshot, to me. That flow he had on Enter the Stage, man, was some of them joints where he was just like, like, yo, that nigga voice, his flow was like an instrument. But it seemed like he lost all that energy on the second album, man. So I don't know, you know, if something happened within the crew that they didn't have the same energy no more, there was some conflict or whatever. I don't think so, other than maybe the Beatminers not doing what they was doing, you know, anymore or whatever. But the whole thing just kind of seemed to fall apart to me, man, after Oshkosh, what is it, Los Oshkosh, whatever. What was that song? La Flor, La Koshka, whatever.
La Fly.
Oshkosh, my gosh.
But that was my joint though, you know what I'm saying? And La Flor, La Fly, whatever. That shit was dope, but it felt like, for me, that was like the last dope, like, boot camp song for me. Like, this shit is crazy, like some classic type shit. They had other joints.
But it had to be some type of fallout. I always wanted to know what the fallout was between the Beatminers and the boot camp clique. Because what happened, you know, Beatminers did all the Into the Stage and all the Shining.
Right.
Then, like, they did half the Helter Skelter Nocturnal. And then they, like, by OGC album, they just got, like, 2 or 3 tracks on that. And then when, like, the boot camp, and I don't know if you remember, Beezo, I came over your crib with it, they had a posse album called For the People. And by that time, the Beatminers was just gone. And the beats was, like, all type keyboard type beats, and that joint was whack, and that kind of just hit the domino effect. So I'm thinking, one, it may have been the Beatminers and Black Moon getting back together for the first time, and maybe that energy wasn't there anymore with them or whatever like that. But then, two, I'm wondering, when you are in that situation and you got one producer, kind of like the same with RZA and Wu, you just kind of got to wait your turn. So if the Beatminers are like, all right, well, all these beats are now for Black Moon, now it's for Smith & Wesson, now it's for Helter Skelter, now it's for OGC, as Black Moon, you kind of just got to wait, right? Like, you just got to wait in line for the next one. So 3-4 years could go by. But after talking about that some more, because I was saying I agreed with Ev that, you know, I see what he was saying about Buck going backwards, and I said it's kind of like with Big, not that Big went backwards, but when you listen to the Give Me the Loop Big, that sounds like, again, you could tell that was some of the first stuff from Ready to Die, whereas you listen to Unbelievable, that sounds like a totally another MC. Like that, you could see Big's progression. You know, when you listen to Life After Death, he doesn't sound like Give Me the Loot or joints like that. But then F brought up Nas, and he was saying how Nas wasn't Nasty Nas, but my question to him was okay, well, I felt like the I Got You opening the Buck 'Em Down Buck was better than the original Buck, and I felt like the Unbelievable Big was better than the Give Me the Loot Big, but I never looked at Nas getting better than from Illmatic Nas. But then Ev said that well, Ev, I'll break down what you were saying about.
My thing with the Nas thing is, to me, like, you got Nasty Nas was Live at the Barbecue, like Beezo was saying earlier. Nas was Illmatic, so to me that was his elevation. So to me, Nas did get better. He did elevate because Illmatic was different than Halftime, or again Live at the Barbecue. Like when he first came out, I hear Nasty Nas, but when I hear Illmatic, I hear Nas. So for me, it was a total elevation when it came to him doing that. But I don't think he never tried to go back to being Nasty Nas. He just.
So tell me this. So Nasty Nas is Live at the Barbecue.
I would say this is my personal opinion. Yeah.
Illmatic, wasn't he wasn't, because I was always under the perception when I think of Nasty Nas, I'm thinking all of Illmatic, and I'm thinking from It Was Written he became Nas Escobar. So do you feel that same way? Was not Nasty Nas all throughout? It was, Illmatic?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for those two singles, yeah. I feel like not Nasty Nas. Nas was throughout Illmatic.
So you're saying it's a Nasty Nas, it's a Nas, and then there's a Nas Escobar.
I don't even deal with Escobar, guys. To be honest. I can't have that Escobar conversation with you.
No. But I'm just saying.
I don't travel that. I don't go down. I don't go down there.
What I'm saying is, who do you think Nas was when It Was Written came out? Is that still Nas?
I feel like that was still Nas. I feel like he was still Nas. He was still writing the way that he was. To me, It Was Written, writing-wise, was still good. It was a different perspective slightly, but I think but to me there was no question that the writing was still dope on It Was Written. Now when you get into like, when you go further down the line, then you may get some different variations, but I feel like Nas dropped the Nasty a while back, in my personal opinion.
So what's the last Nasty Nas cut? Halftime?
I would say Halftime. Because to me, Illmatic was such a internal way of him seeing his society, whereas Live at the Barbecue and Halftime were just, I'm Nasty Nas and I'm the shit because I'm nasty. But I think what made Illmatic was the fact that he was able to poetically describe his environment in his own way. That's what, to me, that was his elevation. It was like you have a teenager who becomes a man or becomes, a young man. I feel like the teenager was Nasty Nas. Him going into his young man phase was more of Nas coming through.
Okay. All right. So Live at the Barbecue with Search, Halftime, and It Ain't Hard to Tell. That's Nasty Nas. Those 4 joints are Nasty Nas. Everything else is Nas.
I question It Ain't Hard to Tell.
All right. What do you think, Beezo?
I tend to agree with what Ev is saying. I think, like we said earlier, that I think it was his biggest jump was from Live at the Barbecue to those first couple of singles off Illmatic. I see what at first when you asked the question, I was feeling like I was gonna say that like that the whole Illmatic was Nasty Nas, but I kind of see what Ev is saying. Like if you listen to the album, if you sit down, listen to Live at the Barbecue, and then listen to those songs, like if we had a way to see which song, like when they recorded this song, you know what I'm saying, when they were doing Illmatic, which songs were done first, which songs was done last, I'm willing to wager that some of those, like the ones you're talking about, were done early on in that album, as opposed to shit like, Represent and Streets of New York. I mean, not Streets of New York. New York State of Mind and all that type of shit.
Because Halftime, that was off the Zebrahead soundtrack. So
right.
That's still back.
Right. Forgot about that. Like, It Ain't Hard to Tell though. And what was the other joint that LES did?
Life's a Bitch.
Which one?
Life's a Bitch.
Life's a Bitch. There you go with AZ. So I think you did see Nas went from Nasty Nas, the young thoroughbred from the hood or whatever, you know what I mean, the young coming up kid or whatever, to Nas, like, yo, just that dude type of cat. Like, he became a man almost on Illmatic, you know what I'm saying? Like, right before our very eyes, he went from, like Ev said, he went from spitting about how ill he is lyrically to how ill his environment is and the situation, and I'm gonna bring all into my world and shit. As far as it carrying on into It Was Written, I mean, again, you know, that's not his worst album. I obviously didn't like it, you know what I'm saying? But lyrically, just lyrically, you take away all the beats and just talk about lyrically, he was still spitting some hard shit. He was still crazy with it, you know what I'm saying? He was still nasty. He was still Nas. So it's like, but again, I think it was more refined. You know what I mean? He became more of a professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really honed his craft and shit. Some cats take longer, like we talked about the other week with Mobb Deep. Like, it didn't seem like till hell on earth that they found their niche. Like, this is who we are. I think Nas found his like, not what's the word, like, not his content, but he kind of found himself as a man. He kind of made himself into a man. You know what I'm saying? Within Illmatic, as opposed to, yo, this is my first joint, and then by my second joint, now I'm gonna grow up, and I'm nah. He became a man on his first LP on Illmatic. You know what I'm saying? Before our very eyes. So I think that I'd have to agree with Ev, man. I think in the beginning, the first couple of joints, yeah, he was Nasty Nas, but the rest of that album was Nas. You know what I mean? It's a grown ass man almost, even though he's the same dude, same age. But everything else wise, his content, his flow, his even the way he was putting it to you, you know what I'm saying, was like some older head off the block. You know what I mean? Some nigga that knows some things, not some dumb knucklehead nigga running around shooting guns or whatever, which is kind of how Nasty Nas felt like.
And so if I can add real quick,
is anything wrong with Nas? Just Nas.
No.
And the reason
Nas is who he should be. Nas is who he should be.
Because the reason I ask that is that it seems like normally when I have these conversations with cats, it's like Nasty Nas was, and y'all are breaking it down from a lyrical perspective, which is different than most of the conversations that I may have in the barbershop or with other niggas or whatever like that. It was more so always about his content. Like, Nasty Nas is a dude who was just spitting, you know. Then, you know, Nas Escobar was the dude who, you know, got into all the down, you know, kind of went down that path. So to me, I never looked at it like there was a Nas. I just always looked like it was a Nasty Nas, then it was a Nas Escobar. Where y'all are breaking it down like, nah, it was a Nasty Nas. And I see what Evan's saying, who's like, yo, I'm ill. Like, as an MC, all I'm around about right now is how ill I am. And for the most part, I mean, he did it on halftime, but for the other two joints, he's really just doing his 16s. You know what I'm saying? So when we say Live at the Barbecue and Back to the Grill, they wasn't even his full songs. It's like, yo, just come in, do your 16. You know, like you said, he'd always say something crazy. I went to hell snuffing Jesus, waving automatic guns at nuns. You know, he always had that one little line, you know. But is there anything wrong with Nas? Because it's always been like, in circles, it's like, well, after he stopped being Nasty Nas, you know, it was just downhill. So do y'all think there's anything wrong with Nas? I would assume not, because it's Illmatic, which is a classic. So
to me, that's who he was supposed to be. I think it's funny because, like I just said, he became a man to me on Illmatic. I always felt like, and this is what I kind of what we got into on Facebook, that the page with your peoples and them, where to me the thing about It Was Written, you could tell, at least from my perspective, that Illmatic was, yo, this cat from the hood out of Queensbridge, New York. And let's not forget, for younger people or people outside of, you know, the Northeast, I don't know how much of it made its way to Philly for y'all, but the underground scene back then, that's when Nas was blowing up. That's when Nas was getting crazy. And I mean, even when I was in Baltimore for my people from New York, I was hearing shit about this kid Nas. You know what I'm saying? In between the Live at the Barbecue and you know, halftime and all that shit, you was hearing shit like he was making a name for himself on the underground scene. So that's why I think part of his manhood or whatever, essentially the manhood as an MC, we didn't see necessarily, but if you were around the underground scene, I'm sure you could see him getting better as time went on. I'm sure hanging around people like Large Pro and all them cats obviously helped the dude. But to me, It Was Written was Nas taking a step back and showing his age, in that he's still a teenager in this industry and he's allowing the label to have too much influence on his music, not knowing, dude, even though you didn't go gold yet, yo, you're in a position of power now with the label. You can go in and demand certain things. You can't go in there and ask some crazy shit like I want $3 million budget, but you can certainly demand certain things like, nah, all right, well, if you're going to have them doing these joints, I got to have my peoples. I got to get 2 cuts from Primo. I still got to get a joint from Pete. He had that clout, but I think him being a teenager, I think the businessman was still a teenager, and he allowed the label to dictate his, we wanted you to have some commercial success since Illmatic didn't go platinum, which I think Elektra really screwed up a lot of those artists, man, because like Mecca and the Soul Brother, Brand Nubian's first album.
He was on Columbia.
I'm sorry, yeah, my bad. Just in general, hip-hop back then, Cass was not promoting this shit properly, because for Nas, for Illmatic to take as long as it did to go gold, I mean, come on, man. That says more about the label to me than anything else.
All right, I'm gonna get back on that, but I want to hear from Ev. So Nas was cool. Like, did you feel was there a drop off from Nasty Nas to Nas?
From Nasty Nas to Nas?
Yes.
Nah, to me that was straight elevation.
Yeah.
I feel like Live at the Barbecue was dope. I feel like Halftime was good. Like, if you remember one of the other shows, Halftime is not my favorite song off of Illmatic, because it sounds like Nasty Nas, and Nasty Nas was cool, but Nas was such a different person. I think a lot of this goes to the documentary that came out, because he speaks on it. He did become a man because of the things that he saw. He saw his not only his best friend but his partner get killed, and they supposed to be, we supposed to be doing this thing together. So you have, to me, when you're coming from that point and you're building a goal or a dream with somebody, and all of a sudden they're gone, that'll completely change your perspective, because now you got to do this thing by yourself. So I think that, on top of everything else that was happening, pushed him into adulthood pretty fast. And on top of that, like, he wasn't in school, so it was like, yo, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. Like, so let's make it happen. So I think all that kind of like made him grow up quickly, and from that we got Nas. To me, there was no drop off at all. Now if we go into It Was Written, that's, you still got, I don't know, like, to me, once Nas became Nas, he never really like elevated anymore. I don't think any extra elevation happened. I think he experimented with some stuff, and he went Escobar for a minute and then came back from Escobar, and I guess that was the only drift off point, really.
Oh, Nastradamus. Don't forget
That's right, Nastradamus. Yeah, I think from that point he probably was looking to do another like rebirth, the way he did on Illmatic, but it just that you don't have control over those kind of things in your writing. Like, your element, your environment, what's happening around you is what controls you to change, or what makes you change. So I mean, when we talk about, say that again.
No, my bad. What was you saying?
If we talk about It Was Written, I feel like Nas writes about his reality to a certain extent. It's not his direct reality, but I feel like it's a couple of sections removed. Not that he was living everything that he was saying. I'm not saying that at all. But I think when we talk about It Was Written has a lot of more things that require money to have a connection to. And I think because he did Illmatic, and now there's a little bit more funding. Now the next album comes up, and now you gotta be bigger. Your marketing is bigger. Everything is bigger. Your lifestyle is going to change. And I think maybe that might have had a hand in what he chose to write about. Because I mean, It Was Written, like I said, he has some dope verses. The connection for me wasn't quite the same, but I still recognize like the superbness of his writing.
That's exactly that's the best way you can describe it.
And I think the reason why I asked that was because, again, most times when I'm in conversations with cats, it's like Nasty Nas is kind of like the echelon of where cats want him to get back to, where you guys are saying, really, Nas is where we want him to get back to.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Kill. Let me ask you this. Them same dudes, I don't know if you know the answer to this. Maybe you'd have to ask these cats and go to the barbershop, but how do they see Stillmatic, God's Son, Nas? Like, because to me, that was him becoming the rebirth of Nas. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't the rebirth of Nasty Nas. And let's not forget, songs like Ether, if you just look at them content-wise, they're probably closer to Nasty Nas's, content or whatever, style or whatever, in terms of just going at and spitting like, yo, each line is like a metaphor how ill he is. So Ether and some of them songs on Stillmatic was in that mold, but even that, the way he went about attacking Jay-Z or coming back at that cat was more refined and more intellectual and more intelligent. Whereas, and that's where Jay, to me, lost it in that he got so offended. I know I'm going off on a tangent a little, but he got so offended that Jay kind of came out of himself and acted a little different and had to go and run out to the studio and do the Super Ugly joint immediately after hearing Ether, you know, because he obviously touched the nerve. So I think Nas, he was the person that we all love, to me, and I'm assuming that everyone feels the same way, is Nas. Nasty Nas is the cat that got our attention and made us, you know, like, oh, okay, let's take a listen to this nigga. But then Nas Escobar and Nastradamus, it seemed like he was lost in the sauce, man, trying to figure out who he wanted to be. That's when the gangster hip hop was becoming just everything, whatever. It was starting to, you know, it was starting to become that, as opposed to where it is now. And I think he struggled with being this intelligent street philosopher type of dude. You know what I'm saying? Dropped out of high school, but it's, you know, you can tell he got some intelligence, but still being street and still getting love from the hood or whatever. And I think he kind of fought with that for like about 2 or 3 albums at least, to like who he is, man. You know, he got one song where he's talking about uplifting the race and freeing niggas from jail and stuff like that, and then the next song he's dumping bodies in the river and stuffing niggas in the trunk. It's just like, oh my God, yo, you got a bipolar MC, nigga. What's going on, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? So it's like that shit. I mean, I love Nas now. I love him for what he is, man. You know what I'm saying? He's an older cat. You know what I'm saying? He's our age, closer to us, whatever. And he just seems to be in a much better spot in terms of, like, I think he finally does know who he is as an MC. You know what I mean? I'm that nigga that, yo, he's supposed to make songs that make us want to listen to what he's saying. He don't got to be Jay-Z, man. Jay is in another world with it. He's a pop artist now. Nas, to me, was always supposed to just stay Nas, stay that dude. Because that would be his lane. You know what it's like, Kill? It's like, he could have been like Richard Hamilton when he was having his success. Everybody's shooting dunks and threes. Rip Hamilton just stayed in that mid-range, and he made that his lane, and he killed it for however long he was in the league. Nas could have been that for those years he was trying to find himself. Just stay intelligent, dog. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it.
For one, to answer your first question, I think the thing with cats, and even myself, again, I'm learning and hearing what y'all are saying about, like, to me, Nasty Nas was always like the upper echelon of who Nas was. Like, to me, Illmatic, after hearing what y'all are saying, I see what you're saying, but prior to this conversation, to me, Nasty Nas was all Illmatic. Right. So, and I think that's how most people look at it. So when people say we want Nasty Nas back, that's who we got on Stillmatic. That's who we got on God's Son. You know what I'm saying? So I think in our minds, it was, in my mind, it was Nasty Nas is Illmatic. So when Ev hit me today and was like, nah, Illmatic ain't Nasty Nas, that's what kind of threw me. And that's why I said, all right, hold tight, let's chop this up later. But now I see what y'all are saying. You know what I mean? But I think the average person is just looking at it like, Illmatic is Nas. It was written, start to see Nas Escobar. And like you said, we got Nastradamus. But everybody kept saying, we want Nasty Nas. Even when we could, and going into your old Drew, it was like, everybody was like, yo, this is Nasty Nas again. You know, everybody's like, yo, is it Nas? Is it not Nas? It sounds like this is, because everybody at first was saying this dude, your old Drew, sounds like Nas just putting out things to be himself. You know, not wanting to talk about this or talk about that, just wanting to be himself. So I think that's how most people looked at it, like, you know, boom, Illmatic is Nasty Nas. That's who we want him to go back to. Almost like how we do with Jay-Z and Reasonable Doubt. It's like, you know, Jay, and I guess we could say the same with Jay, because I was about to say Jay never really changed his name, but it was funny, I was watching the Kevin Hart interview, and they were saying something like, who still impresses you? And he was like, Hov. And it kind of threw me that, like, damn, cats don't even call this, like, for you to call him Hov instead of calling him Jay-Z, kind of threw me for a minute, because I'm expecting, you know, him to say Jay, but he said Hov. He was like, when I talked to Hov, and he just kept talking. Whenever he said something about Jay, it was Hov. So I guess we could do the same with Jay-Z. Like, maybe this isn't Jay-Z right now. Maybe this is Hov, and we want Jay-Z back for Reasonable Doubt. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of, to answer your question, I think that's what it was, is that we looked at Illmatic as Nasty Nas, and that's who we want back.
I mean, another thing for me to add on to that, man, is another reason why I consider Illmatic Nas is I don't necessarily remember him really referring to himself outside of those singles that was already out, referring to himself as Nasty Nas throughout Illmatic. I mean, right. I might be wrong, but I don't necessarily remember him referring to himself as Nasty Nas. My thing is, if that's how he feel like he is, you're gonna say that at some point on that album. You know, taking out the singles that were already out before the album came out, I think he already in his mind knew what his elevation was. Like, yo, I'm Nas. You know, that's back then.
I think some of the cats you talking about, I can see why cats would look at all Illmatic as being Nasty Nas, because the ascension takes place on that album. You know what I'm saying? It takes place through the course of that album, really. You know what I'm saying? From
cats just looking at it like the content. If cats are just saying content.
That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody, I don't care who you talk to, you talk to 100 different people and ask them their favorite song off of that album. All of them joints are they're almost like they're all classic. You're gonna get a lot of Represent, One Love, obviously. You know, New York State of Mind. There's gonna be some people. My joint is Sitting in the Park, and on all of those joints, think about how Nas is spitting. The one joint out of all of them where he's really spitting hard, like on some semi-nasty Nas, is Represent, because he's still on that braggadocious, yo, I'm ill like this, I'm ill like that, but still in the park, you know, he's talking about some hood shit, painting the scene. It's New York, streets of, what is it, New York State of Mind, it's whatever. I keep fucking the song up, but you know what I'm talking about. But all that shit, he's talking about some vivid shit you can imagine and all that. But Represent, to me, was like the two of them. Nasty Nas and Nas came together as one and did Represent. You know what I'm saying?
Even in those lyrics, he straight up shit is real, and then he did commit the last in the jungle, get murdered on the humble, niggas blast, the bullets blast, niggas stumble. The streets is a hot spot full of mad criminals who don't care. Guzzle the beer, we all stare at the out of town. Like, he's giving you a little bit of the both of that shit.
The whole shit, but on some perspective. Like, he's giving you perspective.
Yeah. Right.
When Nasty Nas was spitting, that's for me. That's for us. You know what I mean? Only we could relate to. If our older generation people heard some nigga talking about he went to hell for nothing, Jesus, and waving automatic guns, and oh my God, what's wrong with him? But that shit that Ev just spit from the beginning of that joint, I mean, even an older head, if you listening to it, it's like, yeah, young boys, he talking some shit. You know what I mean? He's spitting some shit. It's some hard shit, but it gives you perspective. It gives you good perspective and where he's coming from. So I think next time you talk to them cats, ask them if it's because do they not see the difference between the first singles on the album and then the classic joints off of there, One Love and Represent and all that other shit. Because those to me is when you really see Nas like this is the cat that we all were hoping we were gonna get. You know what I'm saying? When the Source put him on the cover and said the second coming. You know what I mean? That was the cat we were all looking for.
And you know what? When Beezo brought up the point with Stillmatic and Godson, one thing that, in my perspective, this is in my opinion, I like it when Nas has something to prove to Queensbridge. Yes. Because to me, Illmatic was an album that was put together for his peoples in Queensbridge. Stillmatic and Godson was like, oh, they're coming at me. I gotta make sure my people's in Queensbridge. Like when he has something to prove, to me that's when you get it's something that triggers something and something comes out. It brings out the animal. It brings the animal out the cage, and I love that. But it only happens when he feel like he got something to prove.
Now, all right. So tell me this. So with your old Drew, who is he? He's Nasty Nas, right?
He's Nasty Nas to me.
He's Nasty Nas. He has a flow that sounds more like Nas than what we're talking about now, but he reminds me more of Nasty Nas.
Yeah.
He sounds like he has a lyrical point to prove. You know what I mean? Where he's gotta let you know how ill he is first. Now, a few years from now, hopefully, if this cat continues to blossom like he is right now, we'll see. It doesn't have to be the same or similar ascension, but we'll see him grow, you know what I'm saying? Like you said about Big, we saw the growth in that dude from the first joint to, to Unbelievable and shit like that. You know what I mean? You saw it, and then the last album, you saw, like, yo, this nigga was really becoming a man who's an MC as opposed to some young cat spitting fire trying to come up in the game. Now he's a man who writes and spits. You know what I mean? The Nas that's who Nas is. And I think Illmatic and Godson brought that dude back.
I think the thing with Yo Drew too is that he to me he's definitely Nasty Nas. He's not Nas because he doesn't. If you listen to Yo Drew and you go back and listen to Nas, he doesn't have the perspective, and that perspective is something that can't be duplicated. That comes from life. So he ain't had the same life that brother had back in the 80s, 90s. So he's not gonna have that same written. Like Yo Drew, he's cool, he's nice, but he's not Nas. If you listen to what he's saying, like his actual penmanship, he's nice, but he's not putting words together. He's not giving you that same perspective. So to me, he's Nasty Nas, but he's not Nas.
All right, so we're getting that Pitbull flow from Young Old Drew.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let me ask this then, because when I heard Joe Drew, and I mean, for a while I was almost on some old Humpty Hump Shock G. Like, is this Nas? You know what I'm saying? Because to me, we had Shine, and to me, Shine didn't even sound like Big. When it was like, when all that hoopla was coming out, when Puff just signed this new dude, he sounded just like Big. I mean, the second I heard it, it was like, yo, that don't sound nothing like Big. I mean, I guess it's, I mean, if you really want to try to make him sound like Big, but with your old Drew, it literally like, I'm like, and again, remembering that I'm not an MC, so I'm not following lyrical flows and things like that. I'm just talking about the average head listening. I'm like really sitting there like, yo, is this Nas? You know what I'm saying? Like, because his voice sounds like Nas and his flow sounds like Nas. So the question is with your old Drew in 2015, can this dude have a good career with a voice that sounds just like Nas and a flow that just sounds like Nas? And is that okay? Are we okay with a dude like, for instance, Action Bronson? I'm not a big Action Bronson fan unless Alchemist is doing this stuff. I probably won't even listen, because to me he sounds just like Ghostface. You know what I mean? And it's kind of just like, I'm bugged because Beezo, you a woo head. If this was 94, that would have been some Sharkbiter shit. You know what I mean? It would have been Ghost would have been going on Action Bronson. And you white too? Like, I don't mean to put that out there, but and I got a white dude like my style? Like, nah, man, Ghost ain't going for that. And I think them dudes actually did a song together. So that's kind of what keeps me away from Action Bronson, because I'm like, yo, he's like a broke Ghostface. If I want to listen to Action Bronson, let me just throw on Supreme Clientele. Is it okay? Are we okay with your old Drew sounding like Nas, flowing like Nas, all that? Are you okay with that, Al?
Am I okay with your old Drew sounding like Nas? To be very honest with you, I really don't care too much. Because it doesn't, like, the cat is cool, but I think, well, no, I'm not gonna say I don't care. I'll say this. In the stage that we're at, as far as the music is concerned, will it be cool to have somebody with that same type of Nas thing? That'd be dope. Do I want somebody that sounds like Nas? No. I'm still old school. I still believe in, I got rules, and to me, biting is a rule.
But
so I can't just.
Is he biting because?
Well,
is he trying to sound like Nas? Like,
well, you know what? I don't know. You know, that's a good question. I really don't know, and I retract that. I'm not gonna say he's biting, because I don't know if he's trying to sound like Nas or that's just his voice. To me,
that's a good point.
Yeah, to me, like, if he comes out, I don't think it'll hurt things. I think if anything, the bigger question is he going to have a career or not? Because he sounds so much like Nas. Like, what I think, you know, if he's dope, maybe I'll check it out. I probably won't go too far, because at the end of the day, I'm just gonna want to hear Nas. Like, I'm not an Action Bronson fan, because same thing, he sounds like Ghost. So I just listen to Ghost. Just because, like, the way my mind works is so much like that person, I just want to hear the original. The same, I mean, I think that's why we all record collectors. Like, yo, that shit is dope. I want to hear what the original sounds like. So the same thing for me works for me lyrically. So for when it comes to Yo Dro, he might be good for the generation behind this or the generation behind them, because it's something different that they probably have not really experienced, because a lot of them cats ain't digging up on, you know, early 90s hip hop. But for me, it's not going to appeal to my ear, because at the end of the day, I'm just going to put on Illmatic, and that's going to kill it every time. Like, that's like one of the all-time hip hop albums of all time. Not to keep using the same words, but, you know, so it's not going to appeal to me whether he's doing or he don't. I mean, I think the bigger question is he going to have a career? like, can he actually have a career to the masses if he comes out and he sounds so much like Nas? Or shoot, it may be a good thing. It may make Nas feel like he got something to prove again. We may get another, we may get that Nas all over again.
I think we said Beezo.
No, I was gonna say it's funny that because I was going to kind of hit on that I think the bigger question too is about his career and like the possibilities for his career sounding so much like him. Because there's two things for me, and when you said that, Ev, you just triggered something in my head, and it reminded me. First off, when I heard him, when you told me about him, Kill, and I mentioned this before, just for people who didn't hear it before, when I mentioned it, that when you texted me to check this cat out, and I went online instantly and listened to his joints, whatever. Kill can verify this. My text message back to Kill was like, "Yo, is this nigga a Nas impersonator? Like, I really thought this was his shtick type of thing. Like, this is what the hip hop has been resorted to. Now we have this nigga's like the Don Rickles of rap, son. He's literally, is he quoting Nas lines too? Like, yo, I could not believe how much this cat sounded like him. But just now when you said that, Ev, you know what? One of the things I did was I wanted to hear him being interviewed because I wanted to hear him talk.
His regular voice, yeah, did that.
Talk like Nas, like, because Nas got that, kind of old jazz cat type with smoothed out, and kind of raspy voice, whatever. And when I listen to dude talk, it's like you hear it, but even then I'm like, but is it real, man? Because there was times where he was being interviewed by what's my man, the Sway, the Kanye's man. He's interviewed by Sway, and you listen to the interview, and there's times when speaking, he sounds like Nas. He does. So it was like, it was too close to call, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just give the man the benefit of the doubt and say his voice, his vocal cords, just, in a similar frequency as Nas, and I'll let that be. But I don't know if y'all ever heard of this cat.
But then what about his flow? What about his flow? Because he flows.
His flow, his flow's just like Nas. I think the only difference is that he flows like Nas, but he's on this kind of like, I don't want to say all over the place because that sounds like knocking him down a notch or two, but he's more on that aggressive, like, because again, he's at that stage where he has a point to prove, and he should. He's got to, not only is he a new MC that he has to prove to us he's good, but nigga, you sound just like an iconic MC. So now you really got to show and prove that you are worthy of everybody's time and attention. True. But I don't know if y'all ever heard of this cat, man, because he was starting to blow up for a hot second, and then you had never heard from him again. It's this kid Sicario out of New York.
No, I heard that name before, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, this was going back. Cass might have still been in Baltimore when Sicario was first starting to blow, and I remember he was like, I think he got his first run under Angie Martinez. She like played his joint on the air, and this nigga sounded just like Jay. He sounded just like Reasonable Doubt Jay-Z. He was starting to come up. He was getting shows. Now, I do believe he had some running with the law. I could be wrong, but some tells me back in my mind. I remember hearing something about that might have been what derailed him ultimately. But I mean, you never heard from this cat ever again, ever. You know what I'm saying? He was starting to come up on the underground scene in New York, but he never did nothing. Maybe it was because of his personal lifestyle.
Maybe Jay paid him to go away.
Maybe, or maybe somebody paid Jay paid somebody else to make him go away. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I think that's why I think that question, that's the more relevant question almost, is will this nigga, can he have a career, and what type of career can he have sounding this much like Nas? But the difference being, Sicario was trying to come up sounding like Jay, and Shine was right after Big died, and he was still fresh on everybody's minds or whatever. But Your Old Droog is at a time where it's 2 generations after Illmatic. You know what I mean? My son has grown up. When Illmatic came out, my son was being born. You know what I mean? So like, it's like Your Old Droog is almost like the people right after my son's generation. So it's like he's got enough space in between him and Nas is like dope part of his career. For people like us, yeah, I think we might be harsher critics on him, which we should be, because we came up on the original, the Cat Nas. But I think for the younger generation, if they know Nas only after Stillmatic, Godson Nas, and then you hear Your Old Droog, I think for that audience, they'll have no problem digesting this dude. You know what I'm saying? If he goes about it the right way, I think he'll have no problem digesting. I think we'll be our generation will be harder on him. But like I said before, man, that other show, that listening to him freestyle, listening to like 4 or 5 of his joints, and listening to him talk in interviews and seeing kind of, you know, trying to get a feel where he seems to be at mentally with his game. I like the dude, man, and I ain't mad at him. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt. His voice just sounds like this dude. The flow, obviously, he, you know, hey man, you know, it's like Kobe. It's like if you're gonna pick a nigga to copy, you might as well copy the greatest in Jordan. So if you're gonna pick a nigga to copy, pick one of the best ever. So if you look at it like that, I can dig it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, the flow is that's the hard part. Is the flow, man. It's just like that nigga Nas, yo. Just like Nas.
And I think it's like F said, for me, it's kind of like, I'm going to compare it to, I don't know if Cash remember back, probably 97, 98, Chico DeBarge came back out. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I'm a big D'Angelo fan. You know what I mean? So, and Quiet as Kept, Chico DeBarge album with the joint Iggy, I forgot the name of it, long time no see, I think is the name of it. Classic album. The joint is banging. It's classic. But when I heard Iggy and I heard them roads, and it was like, oh, this like D'Angelo. And it was like, this is what's going to hold me over until D'Angelo drops again. You know, kind of like, it was another dude named Myron, had a joint out with Spinderella. Was on the same tip. And it was kind of like, I'm good. And Quiet as Kept, Myron's album ain't bad either, you know, but Quiet as Kept, it was like, this is what's going to hold me down until I get a new D'Angelo. So that's what I kind of feel about your old Drew. Like, when I'm listening to his joints, it's like, I miss Nasty Nas. Like, I want more, but I don't feel like listening to Illmatic, but I want something new, but I still want Nas. You know what I mean?
And that's how he can do it.
I think we're a little bit easier when it comes to R&B, though. Like, you know, we all know R. Kelly ripped off Aaron Hall, but we all accepted it. You know what I mean? So
you know, I think it is if you rip it off. But here's the thing with R&B and with R. Kelly, I could say this: he may have ripped off Aaron Hall, but he did it much better, and that was the key.
And I give you that.
Aaron Hall's solo album don't compare nothing to kind of what I said earlier. Aaron Hall's best song to R. Kelly's worst song.
Yeah. Right.
Still,
no doubt. But even in all of our conversations, we always give a little bit more leeway.
Hold tight for a second. What's up, man?
I want to clarify something now. When you said about you talking about Aaron or Guy?
No, I'm talking about Aaron Hall as a solo artist. His best song is not better than R. Kelly's worst song.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, if you want to go to
Aaron Hall is solo artist, not Aaron Hall and Guy.
Keep in mind, Aaron Hall has I think 3 to 4 solo albums out.
You can only count the first one. You cannot count 2, 3, and 4 because after the first one,
2, 3, and 4.
No, because the reason why after the first one is when R. Kelly came out. R. Kelly got big after Aaron Hall dropped his first album. So Aaron Hall's first album was out. So it wasn't no 2, 3, and 4 before R. Kelly was like, oh, I'm gonna real quick.
Because Aaron ain't come out until after.
I know one thing for sure. R. Kelly came in that space right when Guy like officially was breaking up.
And that's when R. Kelly did his first album.
Yeah, that's when R. Kelly came out. He filled the void. I mean, he filled the void. And I think what you just said, Kill, is exactly how your old Drew needs to go about winning. He has to, for people like our generation at least, is he has to make us, because like we sitting here talking about Nas for all this time, that's how dope an MC Nas is to us. You know what I mean? Whether he was our favoriteest MC during this whole time or whatever he's been out is irrelevant. We respect his craft, his lyricism that much that we could have this conversation like this and be debating about a whole other man's career based on sounding like Nas. But
now hold tight for a sec, B. F, just on the R. Kelly thing. R. Kelly dropped Born in the 90s in 92. Aaron Hall dropped The Truth for 92.
That was his first album, right?
Yeah. Well, so both their first albums dropped in 92. So it's not like Aaron dropped in 90 and then R. Kelly.
No, but I'm saying I'm saying R. Kelly didn't come. That proves my point. I'm saying R. Kelly didn't come out after Aaron Hall did 3 or 4 albums. By that time, 2, 3, and 4, he was pretty much downhill at that point. Aaron Hall came out at the height of R. Kelly came out at the height of Aaron Hall, or when Aaron Hall was.
Aaron Hall never really had a hype. Aaron Hall is a solo
Aaron Hall
artist.
had a hype with Guy. Everybody knew it was like Temptations and James
You look at R. Kelly's lane. R. Kelly's lane, even with Honey Love, it was R. Kelly was always on some sensual sex stuff. That wasn't Guy. Like, what happened?
No, but it's not even that he stole from. The thing he stole from Guy to me was Aaron. Just like Euro Drew, he took Aaron Hall's whole
style,
his vocal and fluctuations, all that shit. Because the way Aaron Hall used to sing back then,
even to their parents,
there was nobody.
Let me ask y'all a question. If Aaron Hall looks like Beezo, are we saying R. Kelly bit his style? Because
wait, just let me before I answer that question, let me ask you a question. I just want to be clear. Are you saying that R. Kelly didn't really take Aaron Hall's style?
What I'm saying is this, and maybe this goes down to y'all being more lyricist or whatever like that. When I think of Guy, I never thought of anything sexual. Like I want to fuck you, like you remind me of my Jeep or Honey Love or nothing like that. Guy's stuff is Piece of My Love, Goodbye Love, Let's Chill. These are they classic slow jams. They more into romantic stuff. When R. Kelly, no type B, when R. Kelly came out with Honey Love and all that, this dude grinding on chicks. That's the whole other style.
But that's not what he took from that.
Yeah, that's not what put him on.
That's not what he took. That's not what. When I heard Guy, the first time I heard R. Kelly, when he was R. Kelly in public announcement, even it wasn't even just R. Kelly.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
But when it was that group, it was. I can still remember the first time I saw the video. I thought it was Aaron Hall singing. I'm like, yo, why does nigga sound just like Aaron? It had nothing to do with the content of the songs, like what he's talking about, and his is more sexual. It was literally just like we talking about Euro Drew's flow. It sounds just like Nas. R. Kelly sounded his vocal fluctuations, how his literally like his tonal range.
Well, let me ask you this: Did Aaron Hall sound like my man? What Gap Band? Charlie Wilson.
Talk to
an old head, and the old head will tell you Aaron stole it from Charlie Wilson.
Kill. Check this out. When did the Gap Band come out?
Yeah, I'm about to say that's a little different though.
So is that what we're doing? So is that
no. We're talking about
like after 20 years.
But look, we're talking about a 20-year span.
Yeah, and a lot changed.
2 year, the same damn year. Like you can't compare those two things.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is what we just said. This is what Beezo just said. Big had just died when Shine came out. But it's been 20 years since Illmatic, so it's cool. So I'm just asking y'all, maybe it's like that old sampling.
No, but that goes to
like, after 20 years you can sample whatever you want. So I'm saying, yeah, he did like Charlie Wilson style, but it was 20 years.
Let me get this out. This is what I'm saying. My whole point before was, I'll take a step back. You can't compare R&B and hip hop. We've already established that in other sessions that we are more strict when it comes to hip hop than we are with R&B. So with R&B, we're gonna let certain shit slide. That slide. Okay, that's cool. When it comes to hip hop, we're gonna be more.
R. Kelly shit slide.
No. But it's because it's a fact, man. That's not like. I mean, but don't get me wrong.
It
doesn't knock who R. Kelly is today. I'm not talking about R. Kelly today. I'm talking about how R. Kelly got put out. How R. Kelly first came out. He came out like Aaron Hall. He was Aaron. He wasn't even. He was Aaron Hall.
And not only that, but the thing. I mean, I know you said they both of the albums dropped in '92. I can guarantee you because I remember the first time I heard
Aaron Hall's first album was a dud. Like, let's just keep that out.
The single, R. Kelly's first single.
Name one song off the album.
Oh, let me finish. R. Kelly's first single, I can guarantee you, came out before any of them songs on Aaron Hall's solo album. I don't care, regardless of when the albums dropped. I can guarantee you that first single for R. Kelly came out before Aaron Hall's album came out. So R. Kelly was, because I remember when I heard it, I remember talking to cats from Vernon about it. Shit like, yo, this nigga is stealing. He straight up is capitalizing on Guy breaking up. Because yo, that was, and I mean, I'm a little bit older than y'all, but so it's like, and I have a different kind of affiliation to that guy. But yo, when Guy breaking up, that shit was like news, and to cats in the hood, like, yo, Guy's breaking up. Yo, Teddy and Aaron got beef. Oh shit! And then out of nowhere, this dude from down south comes out with this group sounding just like Aaron Hall. And again, when you're talking about with Charlie Wilson to Aaron is different. It's just the same as, you know, like D'Angelo's album. It's an amazing album, but it sounds a lot like Prince. Like I said, it reminds me of Sign of the Times Prince. That's you're being inspired by a sound, a style, or whatever. But to take someone's but to come out right when it's
that's what y'all saying. It needs to be a 20-year span.
No, so like, it ain't got no time.
Let me ask y'all.
I answer your question. It has nothing to do with the time frame. It has nothing to do with the time frame. It's the fact that R. Kelly not only took his vocal style, he took his actual appearance.
Right. Yes.
I mean, to me, that's at the same time.
But this is why I asked.
Wait. Let me finish. At the same time,
Kelly was Beezo's complexion.
Okay, no. Let me finish. He did it at the same time that everybody knew that God was breaking up, and the hype was everybody's waiting for Aaron Hall's first album to come out.
Right.
So you see that, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna add this to it. It was smart marketing. Yes, but it was still a bite.
No way, that shit was just, he sounded like, that was done intentionally. And I'm sorry, there is a huge difference between.
And that's cool. So what
sounding like
what Chico did was intentional. What Chico DeBarge did was intentional. He said D'Angelo's not out right now.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
You don't think, because Chico DeBarge, that wasn't his first album. Chico had albums out before that. He ain't sound like.
Never mind Chico DeBarge. Let's not go to Chico DeBarge. That's a whole other set of circumstances. We just talking about Aaron and R. Kelly and Charlie Wilson. When Aaron came out, when God came out, how many years, almost decades, had it been since Gap Band or Charlie Wilson had an album out?
Probably about the same amount of time since Nas and Your Old Drew. So let's say 20.
Okay, so give it 20 years.
Even over Nas and Your Old Drew.
R. Kelly dropped that album like Ev just broke the timeline down right in between that space of when all these damn groups, when God broke up, and that shit was like, oh shit, that shit sent shockwaves throughout hip-hop.
I get you. I see what you're saying.
So he took that wave, all that hype. There was a built-up hype. Yo, God, everybody wants Aaron's. No, oh shit, nigga went and got his wardrobe, went and studied his. I don't care what nobody said. I heard R. Kelly talk, and that ain't the brightest nigga in the world, man. I'm sorry. I heard that, and I believe in a heartbeat. That nigga decided, hey, yo, I'm gonna take this man's style, and he took it and ran with that shit, and he won. He won with it, no doubt, because Aaron Hall became almost irrelevant. I don't care what it was.
Because and this is the thing. And if you remember what I said earlier, he took his style and he won with it. He did it better than him. Yeah. That's the key. He did it better than him. Most people don't say he did it better than him. Aaron, I wouldn't say.
I wouldn't even say he did it better. It was
I
wouldn't even say.
I mean, it's two different styles, but at the end of the day, Aaron Hall did not have a successful solo career. That's a fact. It's not an opinion.
But again, I think there's difference.
We're not talking about their lives. We're not talking about their career spans. We're talking about like what happened in this moment.
Right. All I was saying that for was because I said he did it better. And what I mean by he did it better is if he bit his style, then he's still around today. R. Kelly can still make music.
He didn't stay Aaron Hall. I mean, R. Kelly's a talented dude, but he didn't stay Aaron Hall his whole career.
All right, well, break it down to me like you did with Nas. How long was he Aaron Hall? Was he Aaron Hall?
I couldn't tell you. I don't dissect R&B like that. So
yeah, I'm not an R. Kelly fan enough to know.
Yeah, I'm not R. Kelly fan enough to even get that to you.
I've never bought an album. I think I was given a CD single once. R. Kelly. That's the most that ever happened.
You know what? You're right. I've never bought an R. Kelly album.
Only R. Kelly song on my playlist. The only joint I have on my playlist is the joint with Biggie that he did. Right. I have no R. Kelly songs. I couldn't tell.
I got some Aaron Hall if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm saying.
That's R. Kelly.
Aaron Hall, you got.
I got the first album. I have the first one.
And you like it, the truth.
I liked the album. I thought it was alright. I thought it was cool.
I mean, it was alright. It was alright.
Yeah, it just wasn't what we was expecting because it was.
Yeah, it wasn't what you exactly.
But that goes to show you. That goes back to that whole like we talking about the boot camp with when the original producers, when Teddy Riley and him had they fallen off, it wasn't the same. Same like with the Wu. Once everybody started going to other different directions, that energy gets pulled in 10 different directions, and it's not the same, man. And it's hard to recapture that shit, man, when it's a collective, a collabo. You know what I mean? When it's one nigga, you know what I'm saying, it's different. You know what I'm saying? But when it's a whole crew that is coming together and making this product, and now you're no longer together, because what cats don't even remember is with Guy, if you look on that album cover, the nigga on the cover of Guy's first album is not the nigga that when they was touring and doing all the rest of that was an Aaron's younger brother. That was a whole third dude. Him and Teddy and Aaron had a falling out off of the first Guy album. So them niggas had problems coming into the game. And then Rex and Effect with what's his man, the pops that was the manager was Robin Guy. So there's a lot of shit. That's what I'm saying. It's like what Ev said. We can't talk about all this other shit. It's just this circumstance right there when Guy broke up and R. Kelly came out and in Aaron's first album, R. Kelly seized the moment. It was a smart marketing, whatever you want to call it, business plan. It worked.
Jay did it. Jay did it.
To me, I think it worked more because he's from the South. You know, he ain't from New York, the East Coast. And I think there was a time in black music and R&B and hip hop where Southern and Midwestern fans wanted people from around their way, like Nelly and cats like that, started blowing because finally somebody from around our way that we can relate to is doing music. So they became way more popular than some of the artists that was from the Northeast. Because there was some people that was just, people talk about hating. I'm sorry, but there was plenty of people that were starting to hate anything coming out of the East Coast. Between New York, Jersey, Philly, and that whole little area, there was a lot of cats I know that were from like other parts of the country that, oh man, that's that old shit, that's that. They didn't want nothing to do with our shit. You know what I'm saying? They was hating on that shit. They wanted their sound now to be that shit. And you know, I think R. Kelly fed off of that.
And we gonna dead it with this. Let me ask y'all this. Do you think when it's time for the reunions, because what I hear you saying, Beezo, is okay, we had these high expectations of Aaron Hall, but because he didn't have that Teddy Riley sound behind him, the production wasn't the same. When Guy did get back together,
too late.
Too late. So what do you all think is, I mean, it seems like that's what happens. Like by the time Brand Nubians gets back together, you know, and I think Beezo, I think you like that album, the Foundation album. But for me, it was like Ev said, it was too late. It was too late. You know what I mean? And we talked about groups getting back together, and it's by the time EPMD squash they beef, it's too late. You know what I mean? So do you guys think it's just better to just let it be? Like instead of a Guy reunion or instead of a Brand Nubian or EPMD getting back together, like we was talking about earlier, Beezo, the joint I sent y'all with the DMC, PMD, like, is it just, and it's so ironic that that video came out right after we did the show about has another era just closed, because that to me officially slammed the door for that era. So do you think when so much time has passed, it's just better to just say scrap it, kind of like how you said that with Pete and CL, like y'all not gonna outdo Main Ingredient, just call it a day?
You know what? And I'm gonna take it back to sports, Kel. I know you can relate to this. It's like when you hear about teams like the window of opportunity is closing. You know what I mean? With hip hop being the way it is, and we've said this a billion times on here, in the year and change we've been doing this, how hip hop, the shelf life in terms of like loyalty from the fans in hip hop is like minimum wage compared to every other form of music, genre of music. The fans in hip hop are very fickle with their favorite artists or whatever. So your shelf life, your window of opportunity ain't that big. So cats like Nas and has been in this game for 20 years. It's like, damn, yo, that's crazy. But I can't say that. Just generally speaking, nobody should do that, because to me, I think like Brand Nubians could still do it, but more so because I know some of the dynamic behind them is like how it would be now. It's kind of how it was when they first started. Pooh Bah, like I said, Pooh Bah wasn't originally a part of their crew. Pooh Bah was originally trying to get everybody album deals, and then decided you and Jamal do a joint, and then when I couldn't get y'all signed, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And originally he wanted it to be Pooh Bah and Brand Nubians. So if they came back together now, I don't think it would be that difficult, because some of the same shit that existed back then, I think, exists now. Because Jamal and Sadat are still people like that. They still be touring together, and every now and then Pooh Bah show up. But for a lot of these other cats, like EPMD, I don't think Eric or Scratch should even do anything with Parrish. From my understanding of some of the things that Parrish was doing to them cats financially, whatever, I think just out of respect for themselves, damn the fans, I'm sorry, I don't care how much y'all want another EPMD album, nah, this is going to be E and Scratch, because they PMD, and then after hearing that song, you really don't need to hear PMD rhyming no more. I'm sorry.
I think that's the thing. I don't think the average person. I think we're good on EPMD. Like even when they got back together maybe 10 years ago, it kind of was like
it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same.
Yeah, what do you?
Do I think what people should get back together?
After a certain amount of time that has passed, that is just like just let it go. Like
all right, I gotta talk on two different sides of the fence. If we're talking about hip hop, no, I'm cool. I like it when groups leave out on their highest notes or solo artists leave out on their highest notes. I think that, you know, when there's so much space in between, I haven't seen it yet. When they come back together, there's just something about the chemistry. I mean, it's already like you're already dealing with life stuff. You're growing, you're changing, you got more responsibilities, things happening around you. That's going to affect your creativity. And then you got all this space from, you know, the other person that you used to be down with. They got to get back and relearn each other. So for me, when it comes to hip hop, no, I'm good. When you're talking about R&B, that's a different story that I probably can't. I don't know if I can give you a great answer, but the only thing I can think when it comes to R&B is if I say if my wife is my age or older, and we grew up on Jodeci, and that's all we did, and we still together to this day, and we still love Jodeci, and say Jodeci get together and sound as good as they did. We're going to go to a Jodeci concert because it's going to be kind of nostalgic for us. Like, oh, yeah, remember that? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, but when it comes to my hip-hop, I'm cool because...
So you would want another Jodeci album because...
No, I do not. I don't...
The exception to the rule?
I'm giving you a very, like, crazy scenario.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because I said that to somebody the other day what Beezo said about LL. Like, I don't want another LL album, but I would go to LL show. So it's kind of like I get so like that. What you were saying is like
I won't go to LL show. I'll go to.
But what I was saying was like what you were saying about Jodeci. Like you and your girl would go to a Jodeci show. Maybe not necessarily want a new album, but you would go to a show.
No, I would not. I would just give you a real crazy because I know what they sound like right now. No, I would not ever go to a Jodeci show. Hell no.
Let's not go that far.
I know what Jodeci sounds like today. No, we're not. I heard JoJo. I'm cool.
That's cool. That's cool. It ain't crazy, but it ain't bad.
It ain't bad. But I'll say for me, I see what you're saying there from the R&B side of things. I think with hip hop, it's always the things that if I kind of hear that you still got it. Like it's almost like Beezo, like you said with sports. If I hear rumblings and Beezo, you may know this cat, DeJuan Wagner out of South Jersey, you know, dropped, 100 in high school, had a lot of health issues. I always hear about him hooping in the summer leagues in Philly and Jersey, and he dropping 70, 80 points. You know what I mean? It's too late for him because of age-wise. But if I'm hearing, like, why I still want a Pete and CL album, because whenever I hear those two together, they still sound dope to this day. I'm still hearing great stuff coming out of Pete's MP. You know, I can't say I hear CL a lot, but I kind of hear that they still got it. After hearing 3 Eric Sermon solo albums and 2 Parrish Smith solo albums, it kind of showed me y'all ain't got it no more. You know what I'm saying? With R&B, I feel you have, because it's funny when Black Messiah dropped, I was putting it on to listen to it, and yo, fam, I got so nervous. I got nervous because it was like, yo, it's been 14 years. You know what I mean? This is like my favorite R&B dude. Can this dude really still bring it after 14 years? So listening to this album, I'm just like, every song goes off, I'm like, come on, like, good, it's good. Like, give me another good one. Give me another good one. Because my man asked me the other day would I want another Outkast album, and I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't even know what kind of music they will create together. So I see what you're saying on a hip hop note.
Yo, but you know what? I just want to throw this in there. There is one artist that I still will go see in concert. They can put out 10 whack albums, and that's Chris. Because Chris still gives a hell of a show. I've never seen him do a whack show. So
right. I get that with the show. I mean, New Edition ain't had a new album out in God knows how long, but they can still tear down the Essence Fest and, always tour with their hits and everything like that. But now I feel you on the difference between the two, because I would just be nervous for a new Outkast album. I don't even know what it would sound like, and so it's almost just like I'm mad they dropped that Idlewild soundtrack. I'm like, y'all could just put out.
I still got a little bit. They still got a little time on my clock. They got like maybe another 6 months to a year.
Cass does
to do something.
That's funny because I know y'all are different types of fans of them than me. Like I've said, I've never bought an album, but I've always respected they craft. I always respected Andre and Homeboy. I just see them as artists. You know what I mean? They to me, like I see Tip, they epitomize hip hop artistry type shit. But because of that, and it's almost like, you know, I think what happens a lot of times is like with hip hop, man, because it's so, what's the word, man? It's like R&B artists, whether they're singers or performers, are normally trained from childhood. You hear about, yo, she was singing in the church when she was 5 years old, 6 years old. Oh, he was playing drums when he was in, like, Bank, playing drums in the church and shit as a kid. Boom, boom, boom. You know, oh, he played keys in the church for 10 years when he was in high, you know, all that type of shit. But rap niggas, it's not a lot of history like that where, oh, this dude was making beats on the low for Dr. Dre for 10 years when he was 16.
And that's from marginal. That's from marginal. It's new generation.
My point is like when the cats come out, it's like this group and everybody, like if three of us was we was 19 right now, we were about to start a group. Kill, you the producer, you know, I'm an MC and me and Evans an MC, and we bouncing ideas. So yo, we all that energy of like, yo, we about to blow. That shit does, I mean, you know, they'll put a battery in your back shit. That shit does something to you. But it's almost like cats trying to come back is like trying to rekindle some shit with a chick that you had back in the day. Or like in sports, Kill, when a player was nice for the team and he played for the Knicks when he was, you know, Oakley played for them his best years, and then now at the end of his career, oh, we're gonna bring him back and you know we're gonna recapture some of that. No.
That's like you said, that's Iverson. That's like what we did when we signed Iverson in the last
exactly. It's like that time it was incredible while it lasted, but hey man, everything don't last forever and shit. So when you take how hip hop kind of formulates, you know what I'm saying, from the original source, like from the, you know, like in your cribs or whatever, and building together and, you know, all that type shit compared to other artists, you know, other genres, I think that's why hip hop tends to be like that, man. That once dudes blow like EPMD, you know, you blow and then, oh, this nigga's getting more money, and then it becomes, oh, now I know the game, and like look at Lil Wayne and Baby in there. Now there's all this extra shit going on. You know, it's like hip hop is different from these other genres of music, man. So many ways, yo. So many fucking ways.
Yeah, y'all right. But another dope show, we got schooled on the difference between Nasty Nas, Nas Escobar, Nastradamus. You know, Jay-Z ain't just Jay no more. I guess he was Jay, then he was somebody else. Now he just Hov. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what we need to start saying. We not want another Jay-Z out, not another Hov out. But check us out, youtube.com/live from the bench. Hit us up, leave some comments. Don't remember the dude's name, but somebody left a comment like he was saying it'd be dope if, you know, maybe once in a while we had some subscribers who subscribe to the YouTube channel popping on the show. So, you know what I mean? Hit us up, live from the what the hell is our email address?
Live from the email.
Live from the writers bench at gmail.com. Hit us up if you're a subscriber. Hit us up if you want to be on the show. Maybe one night when it's week, like not week, but when we're light like tonight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can make that happen because we definitely want to, you know, interact with the cats.
Or if you got some good topics, you know what I mean? If you got a dope topic, maybe, you know, we can get you on that too.
Yeah. Maybe we can get you on, but you know, we done had some stuff with people and they topics. You can get us topics, and then I'm biting their style and everything like that.
I have to sign a disclaimer.
We don't want nobody saying we start biting their ideas and nothing like that. You know, yes, that has actually happened. So, yeah, but if you do got some dope ideas, but hit us up. That's the email, live from the writers bench at gmail.com. Hit us up if you want to be a part of the show. Subscribe to us, all that good stuff. Beezo, thank you for schooling me on Nas. I can go to the barbershop now, break it down. I'll even give you all your props. I ain't going to act like I made it up. Say my man Beezo did it, you know what I mean? And schooled us on Nas. But leave some comments, because I do want to know from other people how they felt. Like, you know, you two talked about like it was just common sense. For me, it was like Nasty Nas was the epitome of it. So hit us up, leave us some comments. If y'all agree with that, or if y'all knew, or I'm the slow dude on the bus or whatever, you know. So hit us up.
Quick shout out to. I mean, I know you're doing this, Kill, but shout out to the people that are leaving comments. They greatly appreciate it. And it's allowing us to see what kind of listeners we have. Like, we got some real deep cats. We got some cats that are just mad. We got some cats that really bring some really good stuff to the table as well. So salute to that.
Yeah, and the only thing I just want to add one thing to that. Everything we say here as individuals, people, everybody, and I'm telling y'all, I'm telling the people who watch it, it's all opinions. Yeah, we may be backing up some of our opinions with facts at times, but even, and I've said this to many people, even opinions based upon facts are still opinions. So please, if you're commenting, understand we're trying to have back and forth so we can all share more understanding on different perspectives and different ways of looking at things. Because I think the one thing I've learned in the time we've been doing this is, like, I've known Kill for a long time. And, you know, we're going through the history and music and stuff with each other and influences and with one another and all that stuff. And Ev and Kill, y'all known each other mad long. But even in that, we still have our own perspective, our own kind of angle that we look at songs and hip-hop and our music. So when we sit here, we have our opinions. Even if we shouting our opinions, we still understand that, yo, that man see it that way. Now, something like that, like tonight, could happen where, you know, we share a perspective that you may not have seen before that may sway your opinion, but I'm not, and I'm sure I speak for Evan Kill and the other brothers when they hear as well. We're not trying to make you, but, you know, see our way. I know I'm not. I'm just giving my perspective on my, you know, what I've been through and how I see music and what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. So I love listening. Sometimes I just go on to the joints and just, I don't even comment. I just read the comments from other people. Every now and then I'll jump in, but, you know, if y'all want to come, yo, please chime in, yo, give your feedback. It's all good, man. And if you don't like something, hey, speak up. I did have one cat kill, I don't know if you saw, but he said that while he loves the intro, it's too damn long. so I promise him, like, all right, I'll address that at some point. And it's dope, but he's like, sometimes I'll be trying to skip but not go too far that I miss some of the show and shit. I love it, but it's like, yo, that shit is mad long, man. So I don't know if we can shorten that up at all.
And another thing about the thing is that, you know, cats got to keep in mind, and not to keep going, but this is a good time to speak on this. Like, one of my main people, Q, always be hitting me up on Twitter. He hit me up the other day. He's like, yo, Kill, let me ask you a question. Yo, do you even like West Coast hip hop? And I'm like, damn, my G, like, yeah. I'm like, yo, I love it. I'm like, Dre, Snoop, you know, Kindred, Alcoholics. I'm like, I named like 20 people. I'm like, why? He's like, because all y'all talk about is East Coast. And I had to explain to the dude that you got to understand, like, especially for a lot of our younger viewers, for us old dudes, all we had was East Coast hip hop. That's all we came up on. Like, my formative years of hip hop, NWA didn't drop till I was in 10th grade. Exactly. You know, so you got to understand that for younger cats, like, you guys are being able to grow up in a time when you got Midwest, you got down South, you got East Coast, you got West Coast, you got, in fact, East Coast is probably the weakest we've ever been. Right. So, but just for the younger cats to kind of understand that if you're 36 plus, you really didn't grow up, you know, with NWA. You didn't grow up. I didn't get an Ice Cube solo album until I was in 11th grade. Like, you know, so I mean, the Chronic didn't drop until I was a freshman in college. So you got to understand that it's not like we're biased and we want to do this or my man.
Even the
perspective, you already got your hip hop perspective by the time the West Coast and Midwest started blowing up. If you're past 36,
but even in that, like, I've lived over there for a little bit, so when you talk about West Coast, you got to realize it's not just one. You got the Bay, you got LA, you got you know, San Diego, you got, and it's a whole coast. So you're going to have a lot of different sounds, and you know, it's wide. So, you know, I grew up on the East Coast stuff, but I can't get on here and be like, yo, let's talk about Planet Asia, let's talk about Cali Asians, if nobody heard Planet Asia or Cali Asians, or, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, we talk about what we know. We can bring some stuff to the table, but we can't talk about, you know, if it'll be like it'll be a boring conversation if we can't.
It'll be too phony. It will be too commercialized because we just be going off almost. I know I would be going off like hearsay and
right.
belief amongst other people I know. It wouldn't be real because, like both of y'all said, man. I mean, yo, just like you said, Kill. I mean, yo, I was one of the first cats I know. My man put me on MC8. You know what I'm saying? And what's my man out in Texas, 8 Ball and UGK and all those cats. Yo, I love them dudes. I love that cat. Bun B, I love that cat. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff he's doing outside of hip hop. I love them.
Bun B, I love that dude now, but I don't know that history. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Right. I don't know the UGK when they blew up. You know what I'm saying? Became UGK to people from Houston. But like one of my main peoples I run with, he watches a lot of the shows. He's from Paterson, New Jersey, but he lived in Houston. So he's the one he put me on people like Big Crit and other people like that, and he can give me perspective on, you know, he was around when like Beyonce was coming up in Houston, you know what I'm saying, and was starting to make a name for herself. So he gives me different perspective. But even him, you know, having lived in Houston for all them years, because his formative years of hip hop was on the East Coast, that's just, you know, that's who he is. That's the sound that he gravitates towards. And that's not a bias. That's not hating on that sound, man, because like you said, I mean, I loved NWA. I loved Ice Cube, Chronic, Snoop, all that shit. And even well before that, cats like to name that half of these niggas wouldn't even know. They never even heard of these niggas from the West Coast. So it ain't no hate on the West Coast, man. We just, we came up on the East Coast hip hop. You know, that was our years of learning and loving hip hop was off of East Coast shit.
Right. And then it's like another one where people's always like, yo, Kill, I'm still waiting for that Midwest show. And I'm like, well, my dude, you're going to be waiting because I ain't got, I mean, literally.
I would love to find out. I'll say this. If there's someone from the Midwest that you feel that you are informed enough, you've been around since before Nelly came out, and them type cats from the mid, from like someplace like St. Louis, and you know some shit that, because like we had the kid, you know, your man's from Cali, you know, like last year, whatever it was, and he broke it down. I mean, that was.
But
that
see,
was cool.
With that, we knew West Coast hip hop. I mean, literally, if we had a Midwest show, I would be quiet. I would just be listening. It would just be.
I would have some questions. I would have some questions, much like I had for the West Coast cat. Like, you know, who was like you know, Too Short was a name that I knew of before he blew up. You know, coming out of Oakland, because he had done shows with LL, and LL had started talking about him when he came back to the East Coast way back in the days. This is before the internet, so you couldn't just jump on YouTube and go watch a Too Short song or video or something. So we didn't have these resources, man. You know what I mean? It was like, if it wasn't getting played on a Rap Attack show on Friday or Saturday night in Philly or New York, you wasn't going to hit it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a video that didn't play on Yo MTV Raps or Video Music Box or Video Jukebox out here on the East Coast. You didn't hear it. It's just that simple. You just did not hear it, yo. You had to be there to know that sound.
We wanted to just say all that so that there's no hate. You know, we get comments like these niggas are biased, all you talk about. But you gotta understand, all I can talk about is what I know about. I'm not gonna get on here. Me and Beezo ain't gonna do a show on soccer. You know what I mean? We'll do a show on basketball.
Real short show.
It'll be a real short show. So it would be whack for us to get up here and try to act like I'm in school y'all on. Down south to me is Outkast and Goody Mob. That's my oomph of down south. But all that, just wanted to say for anybody who feels that way or who have left comments, just trying to give them that understanding, because we're old. You know, I told one of my kids today, I went to college, the internet wasn't even invented. She looked at me like I was crazy. Like, how the hell did you graduate from college without the internet? So I'm sure a lot of our younger viewers look at us like, well, why didn't y'all know? Well, there was no internet. Like you said, Beezo, if it didn't get played, it wasn't like that. Prior to NWA, the only thing I knew about West Coast hip hop was Breaking and Ice-T, and that was a movie. You know what I mean? So all that to just say, leave us comments. Live from the Writers Bench at gmail.com. If you want to be on the show, subscribe, hit us up. We'll chop it up and see if we can make that happen. And Beezo, good looking for another dope show. We'll catch y'all next week.
All right, peace.